Welcome, everybody, to this week's OneDoor Studios update. Well, I guess I thought we'd have happier news to share with you today, but reality does sink in sometimes. Last update, we talked about how we had gone out to our first choice as a production partner and distributor, and we were very excited about it because they had done a lot of young adult thrillers, things that are very similar to Calculated before, and unfortunately, we got a pass, which doesn't mean we passed. It means they passed. Like I said, sorry, not interested right now. But that
I,
happens. That happened with
I,
writers.
I think
Oh,
it's so funny, but as I'm listening to you talk, I'm realizing I'm the only one on this call. And I'm like, yeah, because all the other guys said, Paul, how about you talk to the crowd and tell them the bad news? So I just realized I've been set up.
yeah, you've been set up. No, I'm one of always being the spokesperson, so I'm the one who always has to deliver it. But yeah, so they passed, but that's not the end of the world. There's other people out there, and we already have calculated script in the hands of another distributor right now. I think we waited all of about 5 minutes after the no to move on to the next. So, yeah, I wish we had better news, but the fact is, you just keep knocking, and the door will eventually be opened. And this one wasn't. So we move on. Just like before, when we couldn't, we gave the novel calculated to I can't tell you how many writers. We had to wait for them to read the entire novel to tell us no. And then Ann Peacock, one day she called us, I have to be on this project. So that day will come as well for a distribution partner. So
And to be clear, this was the first knock. This is the first door. So we're not too sad about it. And it wasn't necessarily a no, it was a not yet.
right.
They didn't feel like it was to the point that they wanted it to be or would want it to be. And they didn't feel like they weren't in a position to take it to that point where they wanted it. So
Right.
they said, look, if you guys keep finessing or doing this or getting more pieces or whatever, then feel free to come back. And we may go back, or we may say, ha 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 ha, you had your chance.
Right. Well, essentially, they wanted the script a little bit stronger, and so we actually are going to do that, but we're not waiting while we do that to go to the next production partner. So
That's right.
while it's in the hands of the next one, we're going to be actually working on strengthening the script. Whatever suggestions that they might have had or others might have had that we haven't quite implemented yet, we're going to implement those. So. I don't want to beat this dead horse. It's a little bit disappointing, but it's just the way it goes. You got to knock. People say no, and some people say yes. So, um, Paul brought with him some fun stuff, which we've never shown anybody yet. Actually, the funny is, I've never actually seen some of these pitch decks yet. These are some of the other projects we're working on. You've heard Jason talk about Cyrus the Great is one of the projects. We heard us talk about Handel's Messiah and Curdy, but I've never seen the pitch decks for these. They were created by uh Dan's team. I believe mostly Dan's team. Am I right, Paul?
Yeah, it was Dan and Jay and me a little bit, but we have this amazing team now of creators, visual creators, which includes Steven on our call here, who takes our visuals and makes them come alive in our videos, and that's what he did with the calculated sizzle trailer, and we're hopefully going to be doing with some of these other ones. But yeah, it's a whole team of people. We actually discovered a lot of these artisans through the crowdfunding campaign,
Right.
as we started posting ideas into the crowd. Some of the members of the crowd said, hey, I've got an even better idea. I can take that visual and do even more with it. And we're like, go for it.
Yeah.
And we now have this library of artisans that we can turn to and get some creative
Yeah.
input and design. So we'll show
Yeah.
you if we
Show us the
can.
goods. Want to see what's going on with this.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And just before I go into this, just to clarify what's going on. So Calculated is our workhorse. That's our franchise. That's the main thing we're focused on. But we're so far ahead on Calculated now that we've got a script. We're going out to studios. We're going out to production partners / investors. That's on its way. But meanwhile, we have these other projects that have been on the back burner. And while we're now in kind of these waiting modes with Calculated, we're like, hey, let's spend some more time on some of our other IP. And that has given birth to these visual presentations, which I will share a little bit of. So here is the aforementioned Cyrus. And what you're going to see here is a pitch deck. This is kind of telling the story of Cyrus, summary of the story and the characters. So I'll just walk you through. I'm not going to give you the story right now, but Cyrus is known as Cyrus the Great. He was the great king of Persia. He was arguably one of the greatest leaders of history. He managed to not only conquer a huge portion of the then world, but also unite that world. Despite all of their differences, even different religions, he was able to make this massive empire coexist. A great message for our modern day. So again, on these pitch decks, what we do is we create scenes and settings and characters. We tell the basic storyline.
Oh,
And
that's pretty cool stuff.
this
I've
type of imagery was unthinkable just a few years ago. In fact, I was on another project a few years ago where we paid a designer $10,000 to do a single character, three-dimensional, kind of like what you would see in, I don't know, the older Disney days where they would do previs of characters and so forth.
right.
And now with the tools and the technology we have, we can create multiple characters. This is Cyrus at all these different ages, from, you know, a little boy to a teenager here.
Do you happen to know? Do you happen to know if were a lot of these images made by the Discord community, like a lot of the calculated ones were?
Well, so we built up our library of designers through the Discord community, but now we're doing it through a combination of the tools in Discord, like well, anyway, I don't want to mention the tools because we'll give away
Yeah,
our
no, no,
secrets,
give
but
away. Yeah, right.
both within Discord and outside of Discord, there's a bunch of different platforms and tools now, and the people that we have on our team have been doing it since the very beginning of these tools, and so they're masters. Like a
So
lot of this is AI driven, it's prompt based. But as we've been showing this to fellow producers who are making movies themselves and making pitch decks, they're just blown away
yeah,
by
no,
the level. Here's
no, this is amazing. I remember the level of stuff we were doing with calculated, and this is another level up from that. It's
yeah,
pretty dang impressive. So,
this one. This is Curdy, a series of 2 books written by Georgia MacDonald, who was the inspiration for C.S. Lewis and Tolkien in their fantasy series, Narnia and Lord of the Rings. Very family oriented,
real fun
amazing
stories,
story.
really, really fun fantasy stories. I've read both of those novels, Princess and Curdie and The Princess and the Goblin, and so that's what these are based off of.
I mean, how cool is this?
It's just amazing.
And let me also point out that the way we used to do pitch decks is we would get stock photography. And so you had to try to find stock photography that related the best to one of your characters or one of your settings. And it was so limiting. You just never got where you wanted to get to. And now with these tools, it's like a complete different
Yeah.
dynamic. I'll show you one more for Messiah. This is a very different feel. This is, of course, Handel's Messiah, arguably the most famous piece of music ever written, known by billions of people.
Which is it's not just like, there's some movies out there like, yeah, this is a story of how this song was written, and it's real, paper thin and shallow. This story, if you know the story of Handel and what he did with the proceeds from the first performance, as well as how he got to the place where he would write Messiah. It is absolutely astounding, uh, heart-wrenching story, and also as well as immensely inspiring. It's so much richer than you can imagine.
It is, because it's really, at the end of the day, it's not about a song. It's about
Right,
a man's journey through the heights to the lowest points, to that point of being literally begging, of being
right.
strung out in despair and feeling like, his life was over, to having this mystical experience and this vision that led to this amazing work of art
Yeah,
that
if you look at the subtitle, the tagline beneath the titles, Messiah, it says he battled hell to write heaven's music, I think is how it's written. And that's really accurate when you listen to, or when you, excuse me, when you read the script, you read the story, or know the history of how Handel. He actually had a stroke at one point before he ever wrote Messiah, and they thought his career was over.
so there are some of the projects, and there's more where that came from, but and kudos to Jay, especially because Jay has been um the source of a lot of these ideas. Jay was an educator, so he was certainly familiar with literature, and a lot of these are based on great literary works like Curdy. Even Cyrus is the source that Jay used and that we'll be using for Cyrus is, a historical document. But man, I'm like, that's probably what sold me on OneDoor Studios. But beyond the fact that you guys are just good guys and I could trust you, it was the exciting IP, intellectual property, that you had in developing these. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we don't usually mix talking about OneDoor Studios and MyStream, but we thought we might kind of cross that line a little bit today because what's going on with MyStream is just so exciting. Dan, sorry, in case you don't know, so great movies are only one-offs unless you have distribution. And MyStream is a distribution platform that I'm not going to get into the sales pitch of what it does because if you've been around these videos, you already know what MyStream does. But the progress that Dan and his team have been making on MyStream, my gosh, it's so fast, the progress they're making. We had promised last year, or we were claiming that our idea was to have all TVs and shows in one place, so you're no longer searching all over the place to find the show you want to watch. It's not hard to find stuff. Well, our new ad is, yeah, we did that already. And everybody was saying it's impossible, couldn't be done. But Dan and his team have managed to get a site now with over 100,000 titles, all at your fingertips. Type the name in, it's most likely going to be there. And there's no more searching. Oh, wait, now I have to go over to this site to find it. No, it's all right there. So coming up in, is it June in Texas?
Yeah, and just to make a couple of qualifications on what you just said about MyStream. So what we've done is we've created a masterful search engine that
Right,
locates all of that content wherever it might exist, whether it's on Netflix, Amazon, Disney, Hulu, whatever. We're
wherever.
able to bring it all into a single user interface. That alone is a huge feat. We're not alone in that, though. There are others who have done that and are doing that. And so that's just our first
Right,
value proposition. That's just the
right,
first layer of what we're doing. But what gets more exciting even than that, we would call that the aggregation piece. You still need your accounts with Netflix and Disney and whatnot to watch it, but you can see it all in your user interface through MyStream. And then you would click on the title, and that would drop you into your Netflix account or your Disney account.
Seamlessly though.
Right, right, which is fantastic. But where it gets even better, because we talk about finding the needles in the haystack, finding specifically the content that you want. Well, if we've aggregated all of that content, it makes it even harder to find your stuff, because now instead of having 10,000 titles that you're searching through, you've got hundreds of thousands. So where it really gets exciting is because we have access to all the content, we can now curate at a better, at a deeper level than any one of those individual buckets Netflix, Disney
Right.
can curate. They can only curate their stuff. They can only look at the algorithm and serve you their stuff. We
Right.
can look at all of the activity and we can better figure you out. And we apply AI to that to supercharge figuring you out. And now we curate, aggregate first, then curate the content that you're most interested in and give you that simple layer to access it
Right.
without jumping back and forth between all your different buckets.
Right. And the way that Dan describes um Spotify, Spotify and Pandora, they were they kind of changed the music industry. But the reason why Spotify kind of beat out Pandora was Pandora kind of had a machine learning type of way of providing the content you want to watch, where Spotify went both machine learning mixed with user input. And so it was more human. It was the speed of machines, but with the humanity of the human input. And so that's what we're doing with this thing called HypLess, which is a lot of times when I want to find out what to watch, I call up somebody on the phone and say, "Hey, what's good? What are you watching? What are you binge watching?" And then I'll watch what they're watching. But that's just one or two shows, whatever they can think of. We have these things called HypLess, where the user can put down, "Hey, I'm watching this. I'm watching this. Hey, this is a great movie, a sports movie." They have lists they create, and you can follow these people and watch what they're watching. So you're following other people's recommendations who have similar tastes from you. So you're not just going, "Oh, what do we watch tonight? Oh, I don't know. Let's see what let's see what Netflix recommends. Let's see what Amazon recommends," which is always what they want you to watch, not necessarily what you want to watch. So
And when, again, double clicking on that, when you think about, so you do have watch lists in Netflix or Amazon or whatever. I have different watch lists where I say add it to my watch list. The problem is now you have all these different watch lists, right? So when we pull all that data up to a layer above, now all your watch list, all of what you're looking to, or kind of codifying to watch in the future, you don't have to jump into this layer or that layer. It's all up here. So you have like this master watch list or playlist if you were thinking about Spotify. And like you said, now you can share those with other people. You can see their watch lists or playlists. So yeah, that's another value proposition. But we've got lots beyond even those two, the
yeah, we
aggregation,
do.
curation.
And
There's even
filtering
more
as well.
beyond that.
But we don't have
So
time to talk about all that stuff because
yeah,
it's just so deep and so rich. But we just wanted to kind of give you an update. And a lot of you may be going, well, how do I see this? How do I get involved in this? And that's kind of going to be coming up in a future update because we don't currently have any offering open for MyStream right now. And previous investors, they're currently on the list for like the alpha users. They're using the software and making recommendations and testing it right now. And when we have an offering open for MyStream again, you can get in on that. But this June, is it June or July? Texas.
So we're looking at speaking of the offering, we are doing a roadshow. We've already done a few phone calls with potential investors. We are looking to raise $5 million in a seed round, and we are going to the great state of Texas, most likely the end of May or sometime in June. One of our previous investors has offered to host an event there for potential investors, and that'll give us a chance to explain the vision for MyStream, show them what we've created so far, show them a roadmap of what it'll look like in the future, and we're super excited about that. So suffice to say that that's a private situation where we're going surgically to people, accredited investors. If you are an accredited investor and you're interested, please contact us, and we'd be happy to talk to you.
You can
But
contact Thomas at OneDoor Studios. Would be the best bet. Yeah.
but we will be circling back to everybody, to the crowd, to enable the crowd to also journey with us as we build MyStream.
Yeah. Well, that's lots of exciting stuff going on those fronts. We're sorry about the initial bad news today with the our potential partner passing, but that's just on to the next. We'll see what happens with this current one we're with, and we'll give you more news in the next couple of weeks. We've been trying really diligently in this new year to do our updates every 2 weeks for each company. So keep you guys in the know on a regular basis. So thanks for joining us today. And if we got nothing else, Paul, we're going to say adios.
Adios.